Hi, how you doing?
Hi there, Mel. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, another week gone by, eh? We
I
didn't.
know, God, it's feels like they're flashing by in some
It
respects,
is.
and
We
others not so much.
normally did on the pub, wouldn't we? Just having a bit of a drink, but I've got one on here anyway. So uh,
Oh, have you? Oh, what have you got?
it's quite a nice one. Do you want a glass?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind actually. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, hang on, man. Let me just pour you one. There. See what you think of that.
Oh, thank you. I'll give that a go.
Yeah, nice, isn't
Oh
it?
yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's
Cheers.
good. Yeah. Cheers. Cheers. Clinky cheers. There we go. Clink.
There we go. Think on the computer.
How's your week been then?
Do you know what? It's been a bit of a roller coaster, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, just well, earlier in the week, I had a few challenges around, watching some of the news that, we're getting quite a lot of updates, aren't we, at the moment with the current situation, and kind of that was quite a glim picture to some extent. And then, I had an issue with my laptop, which just meant that it just made me feel a little bit kind of a bit low, a bit feeling like I needed to do something about my resilience. So I was feeling a bit like
All
it was
right.
really kind
Yeah.
of, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because I mean, we all have different signs and symptoms of when our resilience is taking a bit of a dent. Because it's the tough times at the moment, actually, and it affects different people in different ways, isn't it? So what did you notice then about yourself that was giving you a bit of a clue that your resilience was taking a dip this week?
Well, I kind of noticed that my self-talk was getting a bit negative, and I also realised that I hadn't been sleeping particularly well, and that's always a bad sign for me. So
Yeah,
with those two things combined, I was just, as we are at the moment, going up and down and all the rest of it, aren't we? Just noticed that actually I needed to take a bit of time out and just notice that was happening and do something about it, really. So
right. So do you have a plan then for when these things happen? Have you got ways of dealing with it?
I kind of have. I kind of think back to, when I've felt low, or have dealt with something previously in my life. And for me, having a really good night's sleep is really key. So the number one thing was, right, that night, earlier in the week, I went to bed early. I did myself a bit of a favour. Um,
Right.
Exercise is another one for me as well. I really like, if I can just take a bit of time out, just reconnect, take the dog for a walk in the um, one bit of exercise we get per day, and just take a bit of time out, I think is really important. So that's what works for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
I always found that when I was working elsewhere in a different office, I used to cycle to work sometimes, and I always noticed I had a very different day if I cycled to work. It was brilliant.
right,
And now I work from home anyway, even despite the current situation. So I was thinking to myself, well, how do I do this? How do I travel to work? And so I go for a run first thing in the morning, and so I run from the house and run back to the house, but I've run to the office. So I kind of, it feels like I've run to work, and again I have a different day. It's very, very, it's interesting, isn't it? How exercise just seems to give you a bit of a lift. But
absolutely, absolutely. What else do you do? I'm curious because we're all different, aren't we?
yeah, I mean, I mean, I notice actually that I'm starting to take a bit of a dip when there's various signs actually for me, because you can feel worried and anxious about things anyway, but it's that deep down stuff that's interesting for me. And what I notice about myself is I get very negative in my outlook on life. The quality of my thinking just doesn't, it's not right.
Yeah.
And I start to think, about bad intentions and people have got the wrong motives, and I start to get a little bit sarcastic and a bit moody. And also, interestingly, one of the signs is that sudden loud noises they're great, and I can't be doing with it. So these are kind of alarm bells that ring for me that just kind of go, there's, you need to sort yourself out, Mel. You need to take a bit of a rest here and do something different. So exercise is absolutely one thing to your question. I get other things. I spend lots of time thinking about what I'm grateful for, and this whole gratitude concept is it's quite prevalent nowadays, but it really does work. To think of, just bring to mind things that you may be taking for granted, that you just think, do you know what? That's pretty good actually. Like now, I mean, we're enjoying this lovely glass of wine, and you might think, oh, I'd like to have a glass of wine, or I want to have a glass of wine, or whatever. But actually, you get to have a glass of wine. I love this phrase from this guy Bert Jacobs, who is the founder of Life is Good, and he uses "get to" a lot. He says, "You get to do this, you get to do that." We get to have a cup of coffee. You don't have to have a cup of coffee. You get to. It's just a reminder that these are all privileges that we've got, which are fantastic, and we shouldn't take it for granted. So that's a big one for me, and exercise is the other one really. So it just helps to keep you grounded, and I mean the usual stuff, music,
Yeah.
put a bit of uplifting music on, and
Yeah.
band there, and you're away, aren't you? I mean, there you are now, look, laughing away.
I love a bit of music to lighten the mood. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think the other thing that's important, and it's really valid in these times as well, is to think about what you can control and what you can't control.
Do you know, I was just about to say the same thing, Mel. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I find myself kind of asking myself that, I think, in times, and even to the point at which writing, the things that I can control, and the ones that I can't, I let the ones that can't let them go.
Yeah.
What do you do with that? How do you use it?
Well, I've got a copy of that quote from Reinhold Niebuhr called the Serenity Prayer. I love it. It's grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Wow. So it's just that I have the model in my mind of, I can control that, I can't control it, and when you come up against something that you might be worrying about, you just think, is that in what bucket is that in? Is that in the control, or I can't control? And the whole, all the stuff that's going on in the news, the whole situation there, I can't control any of that. One thing I could do is I could help out a bit more. So I've signed myself up on Facebook to volunteer with the local community, help out where I can. I've volunteered with the Princess Trust. I'm doing stuff to try and reach out and help people as much as I can, because that's in my control. But a lot of the other stuff that's going on in the news is not in my control. So, worrying about it is interesting, but it's not going to make any difference to anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where would you say, if you had to mark the quality of your thinking out of 10 for this week, because this is an interesting exercise. I do this sometimes. Where are you this week? Are you an 8 out of 10 out of 10? Or?
I like that question. I really like that question. Well, if you'd asked me on Wednesday when the straw that broke the camel's back was the IT issue with a laptop, I probably would have said it would be pretty low. But having recognised, some of the things we've talked about and put them into practice, recognising that I needed to do something and take some action, actually I'd probably say I'm quite 7 or 8, maybe even 9, because like you, I absolutely agree. You've got a choice as to what you choose to take notice of.
Yeah.
And in any situation, there is always still a choice. And remind yourself of those things. And just looking after yourself, being a human being, and accepting that sometimes you're not going to be at your best, and that's okay.
Yeah, I love that. I love this idea of we get to choose.
Yeah.
You get to choose what sort of a day you're going to have, and if it's one of those where you're just thinking, I just want to crawl under the duvet today and do nothing, then do that. if it's not going to work for you today, don't do it. So and I think that's increasingly fine nowadays. I think people are accepting of that. Whatever works for you from a well-being point of view.
Absolutely. And I think one of the other things that it's brought out with everybody kind of working on Zoom and trying to do their best, I think the fact that people are human has come across a lot more. It's a lot more accepted, and I think that's great. And I hope we don't lose that as we,
Yeah.
as we at whatever point in the future we do start to recover out of this. I think it's really, really key.
Yeah. It's been great to talk to you, Fran. So it feels like we're just down the pub, like we normally are, with the
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's we'll continue these, shall we, for a little while we're locked down. But we may get back to the pub on a Friday night one day eventually.
That sounds brilliant, Mel. I'm definitely up for that. I'll see you next week.
Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
You too. All the best. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.